Okay, so we have two more constructions here in lesson 1, 2. So let's move right on ahead. Okay, so now we're going to do what's called a perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular means right angles, bisectors means two congruent parts. So when we take or construct the perpendicular bisector of segment AB, right, we're going to make a line that's going to be perpendicular to the segment, and it's going to divide the segment into two congruent parts segments. Now again, when you are perpendicular, that means you form right angles at the intersection. Again, this is a huge idea, so make sure you understand. And again, we can use a compass and straight edge to do that. Okay, so here's our original segment AB. So notice here, this is a ginormous important step, and it's all in the first phrase. With a setting greater than 1/2 the length of AB. You can't be shorter than 1/2, and you can't be exactly 1/2. A lot of people want to be exactly 1/2. No, right? Because I think they know what a midpoint is. I don't know if we've talked about it yet, but they say, what if I put my arc on the midpoint? I think I'll be good. No, no, no. Has to be a little bit longer than where you think the midpoint is. You're going to place your compass on A and draw two arcs, one above and one below segment AB. Okay, and again, you have to do the two arcs above and below. And if this is not your compass setting, what's going to happen is, and I write this verbatim, if not, then only 1 point. Then only 1 point. And if you remember from the first lesson of this chapter, you need 2 points to make a line, right? So again, make sure that you make that compass setting more than halfway. Okay, next steps. Let's go over here. Okay, now with the same compass setting, you're going to put the compass on B and do the exact same thing. And notice you get the two arcs. So again, you have to keep that setting the same. And the intersection of these two arcs right here and right here is what gives you the points F and E to then construct line EF. And this line EF is going to be perpendicular, and it's going to bisect segment AB. And that's that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this in Delta Math. So let me get out of there. Let's go to Delta Math. Let's find it. So we're doing constructing a perpendicular bisector. All right, so it says here, use a compass and straight edge to construct the perpendicular bisector 7QR. Your final answer should be exactly one blue line, not a line segment. Okay, so I'm going to grab my compass. I'm going to put it on Q, and I'm going to go more than halfway. This looks about halfway, so I'm going more than halfway. And I'm going to create my arc above and below. Okay, now I'll drag that circle to R, and I'll do the exact same thing, above and below. I can now take my compass away, and what I have done is I've created my two intersection points, one above the line, one below the line. Here's where I grab my line tool, and I connect those 2 points. And again, what I've done is I've created a line that is perpendicular to segment QR, and it bisects segment QR, making this QR's midpoint. There we go. Awesome. I like that construction. It's pretty basic construction. Okay, last but not least, and let me get out of here and then go back to the notes. Last but not least, we're going to do what's called an angle bisector. So we did a segment bisector, why not do an angle bisector? All right, here we go. So how can you construct an angle bisector? Well, an angle bisector, typically it's a ray, and it's going to divide the angle into two congruent angles. Again, that word bisects, two congruent parts. So the first thing we do is we open up the compass, right? We put it on A, open up the compass, and draw an arc across the angle. We need those 2 points, C and B. Okay. Now it says place the compass point at B, draw an arc in the interior of angle A. So put it on B and draw one arc. And then with the same setting, so at that point you have to keep the same setting, going to do the same thing on C, and that it's going to create these two arcs. Now, the one thing to note, and I hesitate to say this to you, but I will. Going from step 1 to step 2, you can change the compass. But once you get into step 2 and make this first arc, do not change that compass. Make the second red arc with the same setting. Once you've done that, you have your second point and draw ray AD. And this ray bisects angle A, or angle CAB, into these two angles. And they're congruent. All right, so let's do it in delta math. Constructing an angle bisector. Here we go. All right, so use the compass and straight edge to bisect angle M. Your final answer should be exactly one blue ray. All right, so we're going to take the compass tool, put it on M, go down M some amount, and I'm going to draw one big arc going across M. Okay. Now, I will go ahead and keep the setting the same. I just think it's easier, so I'm going to go down, and I'm going to draw an arc in the middle right here. Now, don't be confused, right, with these three arcs. Some people even take the first arc and make it two smaller arcs so it's not in the middle here. I might do that here in a second. No, I'm not going to. Okay, and then come over here and draw that other arc. All right, and again, you have 3 points here in the middle. It's not these two, it's this one. The first arc was just to create these 2 points, so ignore that one right now. It's now these two smaller arcs that I'm looking for that intersection point. This one right there. That's the ray that's going to bisect angle M. So in that one, I kept the setting exactly the same throughout the entire process. And again, I invite you to do it that way as well. Okay, so there's the 4 constructions. Now, typically, I think that our software, our Math Excel homework software, is going to ask you to talk about the steps. So again, that's why I include the steps in the notes, but I showed you the proofs themselves. If you would like to do some practice, I'll get you hooked up with Delta Math if you feel so inclined. Okay, so let's do the last problem here in our notes. All right, so example 5, use construction. So an artist wants to center align a new sculpture with the bay window in the museum lobby. He also wants to center align it with the entrance. Where should the sculpture be placed? So a bay window is a window that kind of juts out of your house. So this right here, this is the bay window. And what we need to visualize this bay window as is this bay window is an angle. The entrance is right here, this opening. It goes from here to here. So let's envision this entrance as a segment. We want to center align both of them and put a sculpture so that it can be seen from the window and the entrance. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply construct the angle bisector of the window and the perpendicular bisector of the segment so that we're center aligned with both. So again, I'll do it in blue here. So in blue, you would construct the angle bisector. And I'm not going to go through the steps, but it would come out like this. I'll go all the way across. And again, that would make these two angles congruent. And then in purple, I'm going to do the perpendicular bisector. So it would go through the midpoint and it would be perpendicular. So I'll go down and I'll go up. All the way through. Again, it would be perpendicular. It would bisect. And the intersection point, which is right here, do it in red, sorry. Red. This would be where you should put the sculpture, right there. So again, I will write that in words. So we need to find the point of intersection of the angle bisector of the bay window and perpendicular bisector of the entrance. And there you go. And I'll put in parentheses, that's our point S. And that's where the sculpture should go. Okay. And that's how you can use constructions to place things. All right, so lesson 2 is done. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.